focus sectors impacting over 100 million lives. Strong ecosystem, and we will talk about this ecosystem between originators, investors, and how that network effects, or in marketing they use a word called flywheel, continue to operate. Very profitable franchise, makes about 7.5% spreads, 3+ return on assets, and about 14.5 return on equity. The slide gives you at a point in time between balance sheet, between placement, between the fund management business, how across sector we are diversified. So when the question comes saying, what's happening in the sector, we are able to use the deep domain expertise to ensure seamless flow of credit, not only from our balance sheet, but also contribute equal amount to other originating partner to get access to credit and also then invest from funds. We're able to do so, like I said earlier, given our strong tech platforms and our data science capabilities. You will see lots and lots of tech, but look at the quality and the amount of data which is loan fulfillment which has happened through this platform. Talks about the quality of these platforms. Essentially, the reason we are able to play at this size and scale and to get the kind of outcomes is essentially follows in the 4 strategic postures we have. A, we want to be a leading platform in ensuring the flow of credit to the underserved hyper-high growth sectors. B, we'll continue to broad base the franchise and go directly build a lot more direct to customer business. C, what really differentiates a financial services business is your culture, your client centricity, your risk first principle approach to risk, and that's really what is a Northern Arc massive differentiator, and that's what gives Northern Arc a massive tailwinds. Those tailwinds you will see in our borrowing profile, those tailwinds you will see in the high quality of and sticky fee income, which is very unique to what we do. And D, we're eventually a data and a tech company. But if I put all of these together, core of us is flow of credit, and our risk principles allows us to ensure that we continue to build deep domain expertise in each of the sector where we play. We have a proprietary time-tested risk models. If you've impacted 100 million lives, we have about 35+ million of time series of loan performance data. That means through the cycle of last 15 years, we started building our scorecards way back about 10 or 12 years ago using N, and that ensures that our risk models are time-tested, 30+ time-tested risk models. Our own analytics in terms of looking at the stress at a pin code level, at a geography level, which essentially comes into play, and a strong on-ground field surveillance and collection ecosystems. More importantly, if you look at all of this and say in terms of outcomes, during the good times and the bad times, if you bring this risk policy into play, you have a diversified approach across the sectors. We have our own proprietary scorecards. We do massive amount of monitoring. Our portfolio is spread over 670+ districts. 35% of that we cover physically, going and touching the customers, essentially how loans are being originated in that geography, how the loans are being underwritten, how the loans are being serviced, and how they are sunset. And that gives us a massive touch and feel, which is unparalleled to anything you would have heard of. That means you have a strong risk models, plus you have a touch and feel on the ground. It gives you significantly better assessment of credit, plus our own collection infrastructure ensures that we continue to outperform. And I think if you look at the bottom left of the chart, you'll see between GNPA of the industry and the Northern Arc GNPA was significantly better. I think that reflects on the quality of franchise and how do we bring our culture, our value system, our first principle approach to risk at play. I spoke about tailwinds earlier, and because as a company we are true to the purpose, we have a very diversified liability franchise. Today the question comes for non-bank finance companies, what is your liability strategy? Our liability is very, very strong. About 20% of our borrowing comes from DFIs because they deeply believe in the India story, both offshore and domestic. They're a large contributor of credit to us. Then the banks, both PSU and private sector and other access. The second will be the only company last year who would have got rating upgrade just basis the performance, so shows the quality of performance in Northern Arc across the time. And that means that you have a larger access to liability strategy. You are able to borrow for long, you continue to have positive mismatches, and a cost of borrowing is fairly competitive if I compare to my peer set. More importantly, I think this will start giving us a lot more edge as we continue to build on the liability piece. The other way to look at it, over the last year and a half, the repo rate moved up by about 240 to 50 basis points. Our cost has broadly remained flat or moved by about 40 basis points. I think that's just shows the quality of the franchise and how, if a company brings its purpose into play, how they're able to attract strong liability, have a strong tailwinds, and have a massive flywheel or a network effect. So essentially, if one was to summarize, there's no better slide to summarize what Northern Arc does. There are 6 focus sectors where we have deep domain expertise, large amount of credit. In that sector flows through Northern Arc by be it lending, be it placement business, be it the investment we make from funds. Across the ecosystem of our originating partners, our own branch footprint, our co-lending and on-lending partners, all of that goes following the first principle approach on risk through our same risk pipes, our own assessment process, the way we look at the risk, our robust tech stack, and that then can eventually come on either on our balance sheet, other investors can participate, or a fund business can invest. And that is a powerful contiguous wheel, which creates a very unique proposition. Unlike any other lending institution, you have a strong NIM, which is the difference between the lending cost and the borrowing cost, and then you have a strong fee income, which essentially come from very strong placement business and a strong fund management business. So if you actually look at it, the business been growing at about 30% CAGR year on year. You've seen the customer base has grown significantly, and our own branch footprint has grown significantly over the last 3 years. But I think the power of this is, as you bring the strategy at play and continue to broad-base the franchise, you've seen our interest yield has improved from about 13.9 to about 16.7%. Our spreads have improved over the years. Our cost of credit has remained unparalleled and significantly superior. We did invest a lot over the last few years, both in technology and our branch footprint as a consequence.